So I kind of, when I was walking to my car, I was kind of thinking about, I haven't done a story time in a little bit. So I'm thinking that for a story time, I want to do how I almost met Prince. Now, y'all know your girl is a huge Prince fan. I love me some Prince. My heart is still aching, for uh, my man. He gone, and it's just rough, and there's so much happening in his family and with his music, and people who knew him, intimately and otherwise. And there's just constant reminders of him everywhere, and there's gonna be, because he left a legacy. For those of us who admire his music, and also those who tries to mimic his artistry. The other artists who, as far as like sampling his music, playing like he did on the piano, playing like he did on the guitar, so on and so forth. He was a huge inspiration, as well as an influence on the music industry, and just art as a whole. And so I wanted to just talk about, because he touched me very deeply, very early on in my life. I was a child, and from the moment I became aware of who he was, I wanted to play the piano. And so because of him, I begged my dad, for a piano and things like that. My father eventually bought me a piano, and I had a Baldwin. Yes, I was so excited. A Baldwin upright. So he bought me a piano, and I took lessons, private lessons. I made sure that piano was my class, my elective, when I was in school. And I was classically trained. I played for a while, and I miss it. I do miss it, but unfortunately, because of the situation going on with my hands, I can't play. I could play, but it wouldn't be very graceful as it was when I first learned how to play the piano. So there were 3 instances where I almost met him, and I mean to tell you, um, man, I got so close. So the first instance was years ago, and I told y'all this story about how, me and my family drove to Dallas, where my mom lives, and I left them there. She took me to the airport. I caught a red eye to Las Vegas. He was playing in Las Vegas, and I went to I rented me a car, went to the concert, rented me a hotel room, picked up the rental car, went to the hotel, changed my clothes, went to the concert, hung out with some other Prince fans, came back to the hotel, got me some sleep, got up the next day and went to the airport, turned the rental car in, jumped on a flight, flew back to Dallas, picked up my family, and we drove back to Houston. So yes, I did that. I left my kids and my husband in Dallas with my mom while I caught a red eye to go see Prince. While I was there, because y'all know that Larry Graham was very influential in Prince's life in a lot of different ways. Initially music-wise, but ultimately, from a spiritual standpoint, he chose to become. He said a lot of times that he did not follow or participate in organized religion, but he later on became associated with the Jehovah's Witness. And so anyway, because Larry Graham at that time was very involved in Prince's life, he toured with him and things like that. Well, Larry Graham had a trumpet player. She's now passed away, God rest her soul. And I was coming out of the ladies' restroom. I was at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and I was coming out of the restroom. Now, keep in mind, I had a nonprofit organization called New Power Houston. We had baseball caps and t-shirts made, and I made sure that I took one for Prince with me. So I went to the MGM Grand for the concert. Before the concert started, I had gone to the restroom, And as I was coming out of the restroom, there is like a set, maybe 3 payphones that was right there. Yes, this is a long time ago. So there was a set of payphones right there. Weird. I walked out and I saw, I think her name was Cynthia. I walked out and there was this lady in all white. When I tell y'all that white was clean, that white was snow white. I'm talking about, it was so clean. It was like, how in God's name is she keeping herself clean? She turned around and I instantly just started freaking out. And she was looking at me and I was like, oh my God. And I actually called her by name. I can't remember her name right now, but she was the trumpet player for Larry Graham. Graham Central Station is the name of his band. And I was like, whatever her name is. And she was like, yes. And I was like, oh my God. I still to this day have my autograph book because as I was walking through the Dallas terminal to go to the gate where my plane was leaving to go to Las Vegas, I met Steve Harvey. So I have his autograph, and in that same little flip book that I had, I have her autograph. And so I told her all about, my organization, and we got started because Prince started Love for One Another, which is a nonprofit organization for Maite, and he was so, how influential he was in my life, and how he was the reason I started playing piano and trying to do the good things in the community and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I would be so honored if you would do me a favor and give him this t-shirt and this hat. And so she was like, she said, I'd love to. And she said, I promise I'll make sure he gets it and everything, and make sure he hears your story and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I was not 100% convinced that she was going to do it. And so, needless to say, I went to the concert, went back home, time passed, and that was really it. So I thought about it. I told my best friend about what happened, and he was screaming in the phone and I'm screaming. I was so excited. So fast forward to, I forget exactly what the time period was that passed. I have to look at the dates, but the time period that passed, I was working for United Healthcare. United Healthcare has and I've mentioned this before, the division of their company that develops their software is called Hendrix. So I was working on a project at the time where I had to go for some training at Hendrix, which is based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was like, I know y'all are sending me. I know you sending me. I was almost in tears because I'm thinking, if they don't send me, I'm just going to die. I'm just going to just fall out right here, right now, and just die. I'm just going to die. So they were like, oh yeah, you have to go because, you need to go for training for the software and this, that, and the other. Oh my God. So the training was on Monday. I talked to my husband. I reworked the budget. I did everything I needed to do because they were putting me up in a hotel in Minnesota. And Chanhassen, which is where Paisley Park is, wasn't that far from where I was going to be staying. I did the search to try to find out exactly where Paisley Park was. Sister was on a mission. So what I did, because I did not want to waste any time, I did not want to have this training. Look, they done sent me up there for training, and this trip is all expense paid on their dime for me to go up there and learn what I need to learn. But I didn't want this training getting in the way of me being able to try to see Prince or anything. So I went up there Friday night. I kid you not. I caught a plane to Minnesota Friday evening. So I was there Friday evening, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and I didn't have to be to training until Monday. So when I got there, I picked up a rental car. I made sure I was checked into my hotel and everything. And they actually paid for me to go the weekend before because I can't remember why, but they were okay with me going up there that Friday night instead of, I guess they figured I would be there you know, early, and we wouldn't have any mishaps or any problems. But they didn't have a problem whatsoever with paying for my hotel and my rental car for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the rest of the time I was gonna be up there for training. And I think I was up there like maybe 3 days. So I was there, got in the hotel, got my rental car and everything, got in the hotel, and I immediately started like doing the search that I needed to do to try to find out exactly how far I was from Chanhassen. You know, I went to the Mall of America and all of that. So Saturday morning I got up and I got in the streets. I found out what Paisley Park was, and somebody had told me the Jehovah's Witness temple that he attended was down the street from no, they told me that the Jehovah's Witness temple and the Purple House, I don't know if y'all remember the Purple House, was not that far from Paisley Park. They also said something about like the mansion that he lived in and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going based on some bogus information. Obviously, once I got there, I figured out it wasn't accurate. But I drove by Paisley Park, and I was expecting Paisley Park to be in the shape of the symbol. So I drove right past it. And I actually wind up going I ended up at the end of the street where Paisley Park is. On the right hand side is a Jehovah's Witness temple. So I pulled in there, and I got out, and there was a gentleman there. It was him and I think maybe one other person. And so I got out, he saw me, and I was like, so I'm lost. He was like, are you trying to find Paisley Park? And I was like, yes. How did you know? He was like, because everybody who tries to find Paisley Park ends up here at the temple. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, so do you know Prince? And I was actually asking the guy questions and talking to him and stuff. And so I have always been curious, you know, about different beliefs and things like that. So I asked him, I said, well, can I ask you a question? And he was like, sure, no problem. So I started, you know, I asked him, I can't remember exactly what it was that I asked him, but I asked him a question about their belief. And so he started explaining it to me from the scripture and everything. Little unbeknownst to me, so much time had passed, but I think we was sitting there talking probably about like an hour. And so I said, I better get out of here. I said, I'm taking up your time. And I just really, really, really had a good time talking to him. And we weren't just talking about religion. We were just talking about a lot of different things. And so I said, well, is this the temple that Prince attends? Because I heard he was a Jehovah's Witness. Then I heard he didn't participate in organized religion. So I don't know what to believe. And so he said, yes, he and Larry Graham and quite a few of their band members all attend this temple and da-da-da. And I was looking at him like, oh my God. So he and I took pictures. And back at that time, this is the camera that you had to flick, you know, it was the disposable Polaroid camera. Not the Polaroid. What do they call it? The little one that kind of, you know, looks like a little makeup kit, and you do your finger like this to advance to the next, to take another picture. So anyway, his name is Elder Ron Schofield. I'll never forget. So I got his autograph too. I have no idea why. But I also got his address because he and I decided to be pen pals, you know. So when I went back home, I used to write letters to him and everything. And he, you know, he would check on me, you know, time to time, you know, spiritually or whatever. So he directed me back up the street to go to Paisley Park. So I went to Paisley Park, and needless to say, wow, this guy just ran a red light. Needless to say that the gates were locked and you couldn't get in. And so I did see like somebody who worked there, and I was asking, you know, because at that time I heard that Prince was throwing a party every freaking weekend. So I was having trouble understanding, why was Paisley Park closed down? Like, are the gates closed and all that stuff because y'all getting ready for the party tonight? What's going on? Come to find out, he was he was nowhere even in the United States at that time. I want to say he was in Paris, or he was in he was somewhere. He was somewhere outside the United States. And I was like, oh, man. So I can't even get to go to a party because he's not even here. So there I go. I missed the opportunity to meet him again because he wasn't there. And I didn't get a chance to meet him at the concert. And I'm thinking when I hooked up with Larry Graham's trumpet player that maybe she was going to hook me up. I don't know what I thought after hearing my story. So that's situation number 2. Instance number 3 is Prince came to Houston, and well, every time Prince did a concert, he made sure Houston was on his stop. Houston showed Prince so much love. His concert, I never forget. Every time that I was aware he came to Houston, his concert sold out like almost instantly. I can't think of a time where, and I know a couple times he had to add dates because his tickets sold out so fast. So this particular time he was coming, he was doing a concert at Warehouse Live. And I didn't know that Warehouse Live was standing, like there are no seats. There's nowhere to sit down. So I'm worried because of the fact that there's nowhere to sit down. There's also no like assigned seating or nothing like that. So I was disappointed because I didn't know nothing about going to Warehouse Live, and I called myself trying to be cute, so I didn't sit up here and put on some heels. And at the time, you know, I got arthritis in my back and stuff like that. I'm thinking I ain't worried about no heels because I'm gonna go in this concert, and I'm going here early, and I'm going to be in this building, but I'm in here early enough where, you know, I can get a good seat or whatever. Because all they said was there was no assigned seating. It didn't say anything about you have to stand up. So I'm here, my heels on, my feet is hurting, and I think I was there probably about maybe an hour early because I'm like, if ain't no assigned seating, there's gonna be people here early trying to get like close to the stage and stuff like that. So I get there, the line was already wrapped around the building, and all I could say to myself was, I am so glad. I bought a ticket for me, and I bought a ticket for my best friend. I said, I am so glad that I got here as early as I did. And I'm on the phone saying, where are you? Where are you? This line is wrapped around the building, and we're not gonna get it, you know, be able to get close to the stage. You know, I said, because I had his ticket, so I was gonna have to wait outside for him or keep going to the door or whatever, and then lose my spot. So, because I didn't have anybody with me. And all I'm thinking is that ain't nobody going to want to save my seats for me. So, I get, you know, finally get up to the front of the line, get inside the Warehouse Live, and I'm looking like, where the chairs at? Everybody else looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking, maybe they're going to put the chairs down once the concert starts, right? No? Okay. So it didn't happen. So I'm standing. I'm steady calling. We texting and all that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to figure out where he was. I done went in the bathroom. I done sat on top of the commode. I done did all kinds of stuff. Because by this time, my back is hurting me so bad, I can hardly stand up. I done took my shoes off. I'm doing everything I can to hang out and be comfortable. Do y'all know I had to wind up leaving that concert? I ran into one of our mutual friends, and I said, I have to go home. I was in so much pain. I was dizzy. That's how bad my body was hurting me. I was dizzy from the pain. So I remembered that I saw one of our mutual friends, and I went to them and I said, you know, Chris is on his way up here. I need you to, you know, give him his ticket, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, our friend was like, cool, no problem. Where you going? I said, I'm going home. He was like, what? I said, I can't. I'm hurting so bad. I'm just dizzy. So he was like, okay. So I texted him. I was like, I had to leave. He was like, what? I was like, yeah. So Chris is calling me and texting me, and he's talking about the concert and everything. He got to go backstage. A friend of ours has a band who went backstage, and he got to pick people to go backstage with him. He got to go. My best friend got to go backstage. Prince, Tamar, the band, everybody was back there. So if I had stayed at the concert that night, I would have went backstage, because the person who picked my best friend to go backstage was a friend of ours. He got to go backstage. I was devastated. I was like, oh my God. I just blew a chance to meet Prince for the third time. Can you believe it? I was like, oh my God, are you serious? So that's my story of how I almost met Prince on 3 different occasions. Ain't that something? Who would have thought, right? Anyway, y'all leave your comments below if you have a story about how you almost met your favorite band or favorite artist or whatever. I'd love to hear the details. Please share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And as usual, love yourself, love somebody else. Until next time.